good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming here, Kishore, and joining me in this session. Today, my wonderful, amazing guest is Kishore Dharmarajan, the CEO of SeoSouq.com. And the tech man is always very busy. I'm very glad that you're able to join me, especially considering this is the GITEX week. And want to start the conversation with this. I was looking at your Facebook profile and it says full time dreamer, part time businessman. Tell me more about that.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to have a discussion with you. And as you have rightly identified, if we give a lot of importance to our professional life, probably we might not be as happy as we should be. So, taking everything lightly, treating it as a game, having experimenting with things, and obviously many things are going to fail, so that puts you in a good frame of mind where you know that you are going to break things and not everything is going to work. So if you take it in a gaming kind of sense, then things become easier. So it's better to be a full-time dreamer and a part-time businessman rather than becoming a full-time businessman and being depressed in life.
So, this is an amazing take, honestly, Kishore, on the fact that failures are to be expected. It is a part of the journey. And if I think when you're expecting something and you're ready for it, it's not so difficult, which is what you're saying, that rather than be depressed all the time, you know it was going to happen. And success will follow, as we have seen with you. I've known you for about 2 years now, I think, been a part of the digital marketing Dubai phenomena, the movement, I have to call it now. 100,000 professionals in a Facebook group. We'll come back to the Facebook group part of it and what is the advantage of Facebook groups. But tell me, how does it feel? You're an admin. How does it feel that you have 100,000 people and more joining every day?
It feels good, and it also gives an opportunity to share stories. So if I go out somewhere and have some interesting conversations, I have now a venue to air all of that to a large audience. And it also gives you a feeling that you can help a lot of people. So many new people are coming to the workplace, probably they don't have the work experience, they don't have the technical knowledge. So it's always a good idea to share knowledge and help people to grow, because as everyone grows, we also grow along with that.
This is something which I've learned from you and which I tell people about. You're a very, very humble person, and you have given an opportunity to so many people to share their knowledge on the platform, off the platform, on any different venues, topics, events. And I think that is what a true community is all about, being there for everybody. And you've done an amazing job. And I think, have you thought of writing a case study on this, Kishore?
It has happened without me giving it a thought, and it has evolved. It's kind of organic. So I think it's part of my nature. I haven't really given a thought about having a case study, because I have not looked at it as a case study. I've looked at it something which has happened all along.
So this is the academician in me, right? Where you write case studies and then that is followed by people and they understand and they take away from that, build up on that, which is what you're going to be doing. But having said that, you've authored some other books, and please tell us about that. How did that happen? And especially the one which is going to be now launching very soon. Tell us a little bit about your author journey.
Yes, so the first book which I wrote was called Eight Storm, and it has 8 techniques to brainstorm and come up with ideas. So, having worked in the advertising industry, it was part of our job to come up with ideas. So, we would go in every day and we have to come up with ideas by afternoon or by evening. You cannot leave without coming up with an idea.
No
So, when
pressure.
so so when you're forced to come up with ideas, you become quite good at that, and we became faster and faster in churning out ideas. So at the end of the day, I kind of discovered that we are going through certain processes which is helping us to come up with ideas, and I started sharing those processes, and that's how I wrote that book. It took 2 years, And probably I wrote the book in a month, but I spent, I think, at least 20 months re-editing and editing the book, because in those days you really didn't have any AI or software to do all of that. So I was worried about the grammar, the spelling, the semantics, the way the words flow and all of that. So I spent considerable amount of time editing and re-editing the book. So it took me 2 years to write that book. And it has, thankfully, it has been sold well on Amazon,
It is.
sold in Japan and all across the world. So it is a good feeling to have a book of your own.
Is it translated in other languages also?
No, it's only in English.
So is it time to do that now?
Yes, it's a good idea. Unfortunately, the problem is in the digital space, you're being taken to different areas. So you end up having busy days and busy schedules, which doesn't let you concentrate often on the main things.
Let us talk a little bit about the new book which you've co-authored with a couple of other people. Tell me a little bit about that.
So that is a new concept and something which has not been done before. And because it's not launched, it might not be right to reveal everything about that book. However, what I can say is we thought we need to create a book which in a format which has not been done before. And so 15 of us came together, put our own stories in the format of chicken soup for the soul kind of stories, and trying to share that so that people can get inspired, can see how our journeys has been and so forth. So that is an interesting way to look at things.
So inspiring, interesting, and I'll add, I'm intrigued now to find out what the book is actually going to be all about. Thank you very much for sharing that. And let us go back, since you brought the digital part into it, and you did mention your advertising journey. And you're a boy, you're a Dubai boy, yeah, grew up here, and this is home, second home, and now maybe the first home. Tell us a little bit more about the growing up, and did the young Kishore at that time think that this is where he's going to make his life and his livelihood?
Not really. In those days, things were simple. People were happier. We didn't have technology. We didn't have mobile phones, no internet. So AC itself was a luxury.
Yes.
So watching a Hindi movie on Thursday night. So in
Sharjah
those days,
TV.
yeah, probably people know that at 10 p.m. Dubai comes to a halt every Thursday because there is no one in the street. Everyone is in front of their TV set watching that Hindi movie, which happens once a week, and people start calling the radio station to find out what the movie will be of the week and things like that. So things were simpler. People were happier in many ways. Life was simple and joyful. And growing up in Dubai was one of the best periods of my life. So after that, we went back to India, and it was we had to go through a lot of challenges because we were kind of used to the easy lifestyle here, and then coming back again made things easier once more after coming back.
So when did SEOSouq .com actually happen?
SeoSouq was started in 2016 after I left a company. I was working with a Canadian franchise. I left that company and I started SeoSouq because I thought it's time to venture out on my own. And it was a good plan because I had a business earlier and I did a lot of learning from that. So I applied that learnings in my second business, and I this time second time it was leaner, meaner, and had built up a reputation online. So that led to client acquisitions and all of that. Things were much more easier the second time rather than the first time.
So SEO was already a buzzword by then, yeah, by the
Yes,
time you
SEO
joined.
was quite saturated by then. So we had to stand out by providing ROI for our early clients, and that meant looking at analytics, which was quite easy for me because I had worked at HSBC as digital analytics manager. So I kind of knew the in and out of analytics, and that helped us to convince clients to work on analytics, see the numbers, see the facts, and have irrefutable proof of what is working and what is not working. That kind of helped, because the one thing in digital is there's a lot of haziness. Everyone is an expert in the digital world, whereas many of them are theoretical experts, and when you go into the actual deliverables, things fall apart. So there is a lot of fluff, unfortunately, in the digital industry. So anyone who has solid knowledge can demonstrate to clients what's working and what's not working. They always have an edge.
I saw your website. It's like very wonderful, and the fact stands, like you said, that refund if it doesn't work, we will. Which I think, like you said, that was your, kind of a special niche which you took over. Though it was SE, so it was really way ahead of its time. I mean, people talk about refunds and all in products, but in services and of course backed by data, the way you have shown it is really very amazing. And in all this, when did Meta happen to you, or did you happen to Meta? Metaverse.
Yes. So when the metaverse came along and it started trending, I decided that I needed to master that. So any new trend which comes along, I immediately jump in and try to master it and stay ahead of the curve. And same thing with generative AI. I've adopted it very quickly, experimented with it, failed with it, tried many things, and quickly found out what works and what doesn't work. So both the metaverse and generative AI are going to change our life. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, if you look at the way that it has evolved, both of them have taken different paths. So the metaverse has not really got adopted in in a big way. Only the larger companies with larger budgets have actually implemented the metaverse, and they're doing it consistently without any going back. So the overall feeling that we get from the press and the media is that the metaverse is kind of overdone with. But behind the scenes, the big companies are already building some of the largest metaverse structures, because they know that is where the future is headed. And generative AI has had a different path. It broke over the scene, and because everyone has access and it touches our life, it touches business and all of that, it was easily adapted. People could quickly move into generative AI. And if you go for events like JITEX, you can hardly visit any stand without hearing the word AI and generative AI or open AI or any of these words. So it has permitted every aspect of technology. And strangely, usage of generative AI is going down because the masses are not adopting generative AI. A few percentage of people are adopting that, but they are using that in a big way. So eventually, generative AI will be used by everyone, but probably many of us will not know that what we are using is generative AI. So it will be like the internet.
Right. So it's like when you are typing, a prompt comes up. Would that be generative AI, Kishore? Would that be for a simple, in very simple language, like when, on your mobile, or even when you're like in a Word document, when you type something and the next few words come up? Is that generative AI, or how is that different?
So generative AI is able to understand what we are trying to do. So if you ask generative AI a tricky question, it can understand that what we are asking is a tricky question. Rather than if you ask the same question to Google, Google would not be able to understand. It would give you a very fact-based answer. So it's very naive. Whereas generative AI, because it has a lot of data already collected, and we have to look at how generative AI has come into being. So the first thing they did is they collected almost all the data that is available over there, which consists of all the books and magazines and the internet and whatever data they could collect. They collected that, they sorted that, and then what they have done is they have used manual power to answer questions. So the answers that we are getting from generative AI has been created by human beings like us. So lots of human beings have been used in the process, to answer questions. And that is why it is surprisingly good. We say that, I asked ChatGPT a question and gave me an answer and I was surprised. Yes, you're surprised because another human being actually gave you an answer. It was just captured by generative AI, and now it is parroting it back. But the better they become in this process, the better generative AI will be than collective humanity. So it's going to get smarter and sharper, and it will definitely be having a higher IQ than human beings in the coming days.
But we are still in a question answer format, is that right? So we have to seek it.
Yes, we have to seek it, but um, things are in a stage where it can work on its own also. So, for example, if we want to create a presentation for a pitch deck for something that we are putting out, but we don't know what the format is, so we
Mm.
no longer need to know what the format is because generative AI now can generate the format, ask the question, and give the answer also.
Okay. All right. So that is long and short of what has been happening from ChatGPT from the time November. I think our lives changed around from that. So, on one end, we have a lot of people all the time speaking about that it's not good to be on the mobile or your internet and it's spoiling minds. We have another set of people who are saying that these are good, we have all the advantages, then whatever interaction which we have, the time that we spend. So how do you think one can actually find a balance where you're using this as an asset, technology, future, everything is being used as an asset, and at the same time we are able to maintain a healthy balance without the physical mental challenges which come along with being engaged with your devices for too long, which is all the time nowadays.
Yeah, from the AI aspect, things will realign because things always realign when something forceful happens. We all will adjust according to that, and our work life, physical life, everything will realign to this new reality. Just like people realigned to mobile phones and the internet and so forth. So that will happen. What is better for all of us is to adapt this emerging technologies and take maximum output from that and make things easier. Now, if you look at the adoption of generative AI, it took off like a rocket, but it has gone down.
You know,
So the stats shows that usage of generative AI has declined by a large extent, and that could be because people don't know what else to ask ChatGPT or Perplexity or Bard. What else should we be asking? But the people who are using it on a daily basis, like for example, I use it almost every day because I have many projects going on where I need to compile a lot of information, and all of that used to take a lot of time. Now, ChatGPT is like an assistant, or Perplexity is like an assistant sitting beside me, doing all the heavy lifting. So I just have to use that data, compile it, and use it, edit it, and use it for projects. So it's making things easier for people who had to struggle with a lot of data, a lot of compiling, and all of that. So definitely, it's going to help us in a big way. And if someone had a job which was entirely compiling information, probably they might be slightly risky. Although I feel that companies always prefer human beings because you can't go and blame ChatGPT for something, and you can't play politics with generative AI. So
yes.
the human beings are always required in the office for whatever reasons, for ego and all of those things. So I don't think it will take away a lot of jobs.
I actually agree with you on that because I think, let's say, even if there are 10 points which ChatGPT or anybody gives, ultimately it is a human who decides which is the one which is important, critical, which we should do now. So I think that holds sense. I don't see jobs going away. I think people just need to upskill and they need to know how to go about it. So this is definitely something, especially for the students community, they keep worrying about it. And people are so bothered about it that there's no learning happening because of that.
Yes.
And so So, I mean, of course, with you, I should have expected a tech talk completely. But let's go back to what does a normal day in your life, what does it look like? What do you, I mean, how do you go about your daily activities? What's your favorite thing to do? Tell us a little bit more about that. I know I stalk you on all social media, so I know the kind of content you put, the pictures, the images, everything, and how you keep. There's always a call to action. But tell me, what is a normal day like for you?
So a normal day starts with a walk for at least half an hour, and that is a daily routine. By the time I come back from the walk, I would have something in my mind to write a post about on LinkedIn. And because I've been doing that for a long time, it's quite easy for me. People ask me whether it is difficult, and I don't find it difficult. I find it quite easy to express ideas on LinkedIn and share my thoughts. And once that is done, I'm looking at all the mails from clients to see if there are any deliverables or meetings to be done for the day. That is the big part of the day, looking at analytics reports, looking at ranking reports and all of that, because our business is tied to that, and that takes up a big chunk of the day. But in between, I find time to be active on the groups on social media and so forth, because as everyone knows that we are no longer in our own businesses, we are in the showbiz on social media. So having a social presence is very important to attract new clients, to be relevant and to be seen. And the agency industry per se is not very active online. Probably everyone is busy working on their clients. They hardly work on their own sites or their own social media profiles. And also, the in the social media space there is a lot of hierarchy. So someone can't post on on LinkedIn without approvals, especially if you're in the government, semi-government sector, and if you're a large company. If you're in a very sensitive industry like airline industry, I know for a fact that you can't post about anything about that company even after you leave the company.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of restrictions, which means there is a lot of opportunity for people who have the ability to write and ability to express and who don't report to a hierarchy. So which is where we take advantage of the situation by airing our thoughts, by writing and expressing ideas and so forth. So that takes up a big chunk of the day. In the evenings, the best part of the day for me, I think, is breakfast. And the breakfast only after doing my post, so it has become habitual. And the evenings are slightly easier. You're relaxed, always watching some news on TV or some movies or series on Netflix. So we have a very simple life, and not very complicated, not very competitive, if I can say that. So we have a very healthy kind of lifestyle where we stand by simplicity, not very complicated, not very serious about life, taking life as a game that you play. And so hope and that keeps us kind of light-hearted and happy most of the time.
I think you spread that happiness and joy. I've met your wife, and I know, and she's a and she's an amazing cook, as we all know from her channel. So I'm sure that that is the ripple effect, which is the happiness and the calm. So this show is all about the undisputable superpower. What do you think is your undisputable superpower? As in my USP, what is that?
Probably I have to. So one of my undisputable superpower, I guess, is my ability to write and express ideas, which is not as common as people think it is. Now, with the advent of ChatGPT, many people have become overnight writers because they are not afraid of creating grammatical mistakes and all of that. But pre ChatGPT, you needed to have that skill to write. And even after ChatGPT, what has happened is people who have experimented with writing on ChatGPT kind of get bored with it, because you don't know exactly what you are trying to do with ChatGPT, what questions to ask, what should I write about, and ChatGPT won't be your personality, it won't have your perspective, and so forth. So people who have the ability to write definitely have an advantage. You can express yourself either in video or in graphics or in your text, and you have your signature, and people know that it is you even without your name. So that, I guess, is one of my superpowers. The other is my ability to sleep instantly, which I didn't know was a superpower, but my wife tells me it is a superpower.
Absolutely, it is definitely. And right, as you said, consistency, I think your consistency is what has helped you become into a better writer and a quick. On the go kind of a writer. I think that has definitely helped because coming to your newsletters, the metamorphosis which you write, which you send out every day, I have seen that sometimes the length is small, sometimes the length is big. You're not bothered about that. You just are consistent and sending that. And I would truly believe that that is your superpower of consistently showing up everywhere. So it is really amazing. And thank you so much, Kishore, for this session. Very quickly, last question. If you had to recommend to somebody some book, what would you do? And what is your mantra in life which you would like to recommend to people?
I don't have a mantra per se, because that would be too short of a space to express what life is. Whereas the book I would recommend is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse,
Mhm.
because that is life changing, because it shows that many of the things that we feel is important is not really important. It puts a new
Okay.
spin on your thought, gives you new perspective. And many people come to India to discover themselves, especially from the West. So Steve Jobs, when they threw him out of Apple, he came to India. When Mark Zuckerberg was trying to build Facebook and it broke, he came to India. The reason why they have all come to India is to rediscover themselves. And Hermann Hesse, being a German writer, has captured the essence of how to rediscover yourself in a book called Siddhartha, which,
Okay.
if you read it without knowing that it was written by a German person, you would think that it was written by an Indian person. But I think
Mm.
no Indian person would be able to write with such clarity of thought that this German person has found out about Indianness. So, absolutely amazing book. Many people, after going through this book, they feel that it's nothing but a story. But for some people, it is life changing,
That's
and can people can rediscover themselves after reading Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha.
Sounds interesting. So let me rephrase that question of the mantra. Any quote that you live by, or which you would share, or with something which motivates you, and when sometimes when you're not so much uh, energized, you that kind of brings the pep back into you. Is there any
I
quotation
think,
or?
yeah, the slogan by Nissan, which was being used many years ago, was brilliant, and does sync with me, which is life is a journey, enjoy the ride. They have discontinued that and they use something else now. But I guess the philosophy behind that is quite good, because life is definitely a journey, and people are looking for the end point, whereas we should all be enjoying the
Mm,
journey rather
journey.
than the end point, which is nothing but death.
Right, very true. Thank you so very much, Kishore, for being a part of my USP, my undisputable superpower. And I'm so glad that I've got you, and you've spoken so well and shared your thoughts so well. I wish you all the very best, and I hope to continue to be in your network. And have to say I'm very proud of being a part of your network, and wishing you all the very best. And thank you so much once again. Just hang in there. I'm just going to